in a
Isn't
bottle.
it cool? Heaven isn't about ourselves. I said, this is appropriate.
Mr.
That
Nice
is
Guy.
funny.
This is this Chardonnay. Yeah,
Love it.
like Watchmen. You seen Watchmen?
That is funny.
In a bottle.
Got this in the bar. Yours. So obviously I was talking about extraterrestrials.
Yeah, because I want to say, like, from a Buddhist point of view, where everything that's external is also internal. You know, to an extent, like, there's no. So extraterrestrials are also, you know, they're just
they're
they're just
beings like us.
psychological.
You know, they have bodies.
Hold on, but aren't they just then like psychological? I mean, in other words, hold on, what's the word? Like, they're not separate from you, though.
Oh, definitely not.
So they're
Definitely.
part of you,
Yeah,
and you're a
absolutely.
part of them.
Yeah, if your identification of you is you as everything, not everyone has that identification.
No, meaning like, yeah, well,
Manifest out of the same place.
right, like you as everything. No, because you're not everything at the same time, but you come from the same source.
That's true.
Nevertheless, it's extraterrestrial. So it's like all beings want to be happy, right?
Okay,
all
sure.
beings equally want to be happy.
In that sense,
So even
yeah.
if you're telling me there's extraterrestrials on the planet, then even they want to be happy, right? Isn't that
Okay,
what
sure,
they're?
yeah.
So
They have desire.
how can we create a compassionate relationship in sharing this space, right? So in sharing this
Right.
planet. So if extraterrestrials have had to come to this planet for some reason, as you're explaining, then
Well, a lot of them are here to help us, you know, because of the influences that have been here that do not want to help us. You know, they're interested in the resources. You know, and that way of thinking comes from that.
yeah.
People didn't act like that before them. Then something changed.
Yeah.
You know, it was a point in history where it was like, you know, people began to do things differently.
Like, my question is always, like, those forces that don't want to help, like, don't we need to try to help them so that they can, because isn't it just their ignorance?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I would say that per your ability to communicate, or per the increasing ability to be able to communicate with extraterrestrial beings, that's something that people are able to do, without question. But that's not
Make peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You know, first, be protected from that which is harmful. And then two, if you are of the ability to enter the realm where you can be of help to those that are inimical towards you, then you are prepared for that. You are prepared for that, you know, so that you can penetrate the situation in a manner where you can help them, or if it's necessary for, you know, that kind of thing to be destroyed in whatever fashion, you also have the means to do that also. You know, and both of those are important. You know, that's the natural cycle of birth and death. You know, that which is being created and that which is being destroyed. Some things have to be destroyed forcefully because of the force they exert, and it's not always the result. I would say actually it's never the result of that which destroys that thing justly externally, but always the negative karma of that being coming into manifestation.
Right. So it's like,
So
because,
people can be used as vehicles for that destruction. If
Right.
It's just.
But-
Only if it's just.
but
Yes.
a person cannot will to do harm to another,
Absolutely.
because that's not.
That's right.
No one
That's
has the right to
exactly
say that person deserves this. Only their karma
That's right.
can
Exactly.
let that happen.
Exactly right.
In that way, what you're saying could be compatible with a nonviolent philosophy,
Yes.
you know, principle.
That's exactly right.
That the reason things manifest in ugly ways, in
Right.
ugly situations, is because that's that karma ripening.
That's
But
right.
if you have an intention to go do something harmful to someone, that is only creating your own bad karma. That has nothing to do with cleaning another person's karma. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you're saying something's has to be forcibly destroyed, alarm went up, because it's like, but you can't be the one to determine that. You gotta let the law of karma determine that.
That's true. Well, so here's the thing. Right. Here's the thing. Violence is always, and this is war. War is always the last recourse to the creating of a solution for a problem. It's always the last recourse. In the world that we live in, war, unfortunately, has become a necessity. That shit sucks. Let me say that. Because there has to be a force that is stronger than the force that thinks it has to dominate everything in order to do away with that shit. Get it out of here, you know? And that's something that, according to nature, happens naturally, happens gracefully, happens in proper timing and wonderful expression. But it can also be very wrathful and necessary.
Show me one war that has ever solved anything.
I'm not saying war solves anything.
There isn't one. It only creates more war.
War, it's very hard to find something because it's very circumstantial. But if you're talking about natural war,
Yes.
the planet fights us all the time.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And
Now,
so
we're
things
just
that
trying
have to
to
be done away with, they
live,
die away. They
but-
die. it goes. You know? So what we're talking about is the differentiation between a passive decay and an active initiation of the decay of something.
You're talking about when the earth itself
Yes,
comes.
she's a being also.
Absolutely. Right.
Bye-bye.
Right. Right.
You know, so...
but you're not talking about human war, because my feeling is human war has done more destruction to the earth than, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's like because of human war that the earth is erupting out of its own pain.
I think it's in the same way if you're walking down the street and somebody tries to harm you. You have to...
You defend yourself.
Exactly right.
But
Exactly right.
defensiveness is a war strategy.
Exactly right. That's why wars become a necessity, because the force is here, the force is poking us, and we gotta be like, back the fuck up.
You know,
we got to. Otherwise, people will just take advantage of us.
Cancer is a war. You know what I'm saying? Like, war is very. It depends on what side you're talking about. It's also both sides. You know what I'm saying? Like, oppression has to be fought against.
Yes.
At the same time, it's the way you fight. It's the way you fight your war.
Exactly right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Martin Luther King fought in a, his ideology was a war strategy that was a peaceful,
That's right.
nonviolent protest.
Exactly, yeah.
But that was a war for civil rights. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you really have to get into the multiple meanings of what war is before you can actually have that conversation. Because war in and of itself, as a meaningless term other than fight, is not negative. Fight for your life. You know what I'm saying? But are you fighting for your life at the abuse of others?
Yes.
That's a different type of war. That's where language fails us.
Exactly right.
We had 100 words for war to depict exactly what type of war we're specifically talking about. Then we could have real conversations about what peace is.
Well, my only problem with the concept of war is that, like you were saying before, like it's when something is destruction is a part of is part of the karma, it's part of the cycle, right? It's part of when something bad happens, whether it be disease, whether it be hurricane that wipes out whatever,
someone choosing to kill somebody else,
or someone choosing to or suicide or whatever, that's karma, right? It's all karma that's ripening in those conditions, in those causing conditions.
Right.
So the only thing is about when you have war, though, to me that sets something in mind where it's like there's a winner and a loser, like there's, you know what I mean? And that's the problem, because when as a Buddhist, when we're trying to look at all beings as equal, all beings as worthy of compassion, no matter how much they are ignorant, no matter how confused they are, there's really no winner or loser.
So let me ask
because
you this.
we all have to win together. You know what I'm saying?
Who that person is, right? No matter they're because you're exactly right. They are capable of compassion, but if they have become ill to the extent where they come to your front door and adjudicate some forceful means to go through your front door and have a sword in their hand and they're ready to cut your head off, what are you gonna do? What do you do in a situation?
But that's not war. That is not war, though. In a microsecond, then, that's a fight, though, because there's a battle and there's war. There's a difference. War is like a long-term, strategic concept.
That's an opinion.
That is the take. That is the take on the word war. The war is something that is the reconciliation of something.
If you want to ask
warfare takes place so that peace can prevail.
No, see, that's where I think human beings, that's where I think we've gotten really confused.
Right, let me say
when you say war takes place that peace can prevail, peace can only prevail by itself, by creating itself. You have to build peace. You don't kill to get peace.
Right. So here's what I'm saying.
Peace cannot come through war. That's what I'm saying.
Peace, right. All right, and we're talking about two different kinds of peace. There is the peace that is untouchable, but then there is the peace you experience in the space that you live in. I'm talking about territory. This is serious, because if someone is violent and they live in this territory, and because they don't know enough about themselves, or they don't love themselves enough to treat each other with kindness and care and nurturing and all that kind of thing, and they become so infatuated with whatever or infatuated with that way of thinking that they want more, and they just want to go wherever and kill all the peaceful people, then the peaceful people, when they see that shit coming, and I'm going to say this because nature is always more powerful than any kind of destructive force that arises. It is always more powerful. So in the knowledge of art, those peaceful people can create a rallying and a recoil that can completely do away with the threat. That is war. And the result of that war is the maintaining of the peace in your space.
As long as you had peace to begin with.
Absolutely.
The problem
No
is
question.
we've got countries going to war that don't have peace at all, and
Wars
it's
are
like, what are they
misconstrued and
fighting for?
misunderstood, no question. But see, what's most important is the explanation of the concept behind the word, and us being able to agree on it, because that's true. Nobody wants to be threatened, you know? Nobody wants to feel threatened. It's crazy, you know? And there are certain cultures that have embraced the idea of war, like in Japan with the samurai. You know, that was a very violent period when the samurai existed. But there was a certain kind of honor, a certain kind of perception, respect, and understanding of what was necessary in that time of danger. You know what I mean? Like they lived in a time period of danger, and so you have to know how to deal with danger, and really you take your orientation in the absolute and the everlasting before you give consideration to your own bodily existence. Samurais revered death before they did life because they knew that they were there to protect, and either you kill or you be killed. It's that simple. It's that simple. That is your duty. That was the life of a samurai. When it gets to that, you know? Otherwise, you're able to live very peacefully. They were very peaceful people. But only in times of warfare do you go to the extreme. And extremes are necessary for eradication and the keeping of peace from peace that was already existing. If you don't go to the extreme, then you can be duped. You can still be clouded by whatever the program is, because you didn't go to the other end and know that your eminence is also in, you know, the initiating point of wherever that came from anyway. So you just got to go through it and find it and liberate it. Boom, done. If you got to kill people in the process and they was trying to kill you, hell yeah. You kill all of them, because that was the choice they made. But that is always the last recourse. Negotiation should always be tried beforehand, but in a situation where that is imperceivable and cannot take place, that's what's necessary in order to keep the peace in the place.
Tell me, where is there peace on this earth?
That's a good question. In my heart. That's the answer. That's the answer for everybody. For real.
Well, you know, I mean,
that's what peace is.
There's peace surrounding us in every single moment. It's
exactly
just the ability to see it.
But emanating from us, not only surrounding us, inside of us, outside of us, throughout us.
Peace exists, you know.
All right, beyond the philosophical introspective, I'm saying peace on the planet. Where can we see
the inexpressive.
A society of peace?
That's a good ass
Not
question,
just within one person, but in a culture, in a community, in a country, in a continent. Where is there a peace that is worth fighting for on this planet?
That's what we're living for.
By which I mean, right, we gotta build peace by creating it. You don't go to war to create peace on this planet because you're not coming from it.
You shouldn't have to.
Unless you're coming from peace and you're defending it, that's another story. But when you're, you know, when it doesn't exist.
That's right. I mean, you ever watch Voltron? Voltron defended the universe? You gotta defend. That's the only thing you do. Voltron only defends. He never picked a fight. If you picking fights, you got something wrong with you. You know? But if you are so noble that you can perceive the beginning of a war taking place and take the steps to evade it, circumvent it, but then it becomes, you know, threatening enough to violate your person or your personal space, then that's when the choice has to be made as to whether you're going to continue to accept the violence or you're going to do something about the violence and recreate the peace that was taken from the space that was already created peacefully.
I gotta reflect on that, but well said. I mean, you know.
It's real. Because I'm gonna be real with you, that's something I never would have been able to understand so clearly were I not have to do it in my own personal life. But because I've had to do it in my personal life, and have been able to embrace without repressing any of the emotions that I've felt, you know, and trying to circumvent taking a stance that is going to have to back you up, I know that it is a natural response. And it is a response of self-defense. And as the more the backing up took place, the more peaceful my space became. And that's how I knew I was making progress.
What do you mean by backing up? I didn't get that, sorry.
I would say removing someone else's personal influence from my life.
Right.
Something that is threatening or hurtful.
Right, I hear you. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so with the eradication of that, my life has taken on a rebirth. and a renewing after something has taken place that was a form of betrayal to agreements that have been made. That is what keeps peace in a place. Agreements. That's what language is. It's us agreeing with each other or disagreeing, you know. But it's a way of communicating things so that everyone can understand them. And if words, again, are used and each person has a different definition for that word, then a conversation should be had about the word, so that, you know, the most valuable perspective of that word prevails as a result of that conversation.
Like niggerly.
Yes, like niggerly. Like we talked about. Exactly right. Sandy, you're awesome.
It's great to talk with you. Yeah, I'll give you my email too, because that's
great. I'm about to go to this party.